Kyle here from All Media Reviews, Vinyl Collection A to Z, here to do the first part of the letter G. I might get to the second part, but, so I have a bunch of records for this first artist, starting out the letter G, but there's stuff that I don't have, and I'm surprised, so, I didn't put this with last. Anyway, so it's Peter Gabriel. I'm going to go see Finally Live in a matter of like a little over a month. He's on August 31st, but I have a copy of Car, his debut, I believe. Yes, from '76. Or was it was '77 on here? It was '76. Maybe it was '77. Car, of course, it has Salisbury Hill, among others. I think, what was the one? DIY on there. So then I've got some singles here, so I'm kind of, I thought these were in order, but they're not in perfect order. So, and I've got Scratch, which, that was '78. That has DIY, okay. The early Gabriel, sometimes I don't know the track list by heart. I should know. Yeah, I mean, DIY, Flotsam and Jetsam, On the Air, it's, more experimental. I can't remember if Robert Fripp might play on this, but anyway. It's the second one. The Peter Gabriel self-titles, they call that one Scratch. Then I have, I guess, 2 copies of this, which, I don't know why I need 2 copies of Melt, the album that came out, was it 1980? 79, I'm looking here. I gotta put this stuff down because I'm doing myself a disservice and the camera a disservice. Doesn't have the year. It was either 79 or 80. This has Intruder, Games Without Frontiers, and Biko. Those are the 2 big hits on here. So I'm not sure I need to keep both of these. So again, this is another one that could end up in a giveaway of some kind, one of them, depending on things. So, and I've got this. I'm not sure when this came out. This was 1980 also. I don't remember like an EP or single with Shashala's on Biko. It's got Biko, the remix version of Biko, and Here Comes the Flood. It's in German. The German, yeah. That's why it was kind of a rare item. This was part of the whole thing that we found at Down the Valley. This is going to show up a lot, but yeah, this is because it's back in 2003. Canadian 12-inch of I Don't Remember. And so then I've got... I do have a copy of So. Thinking I didn't have it. His most iconic record, mostly. It's got In Your Eyes, Sledgehammer, and Big Time, those 3 especially. And then like Mercy Street, Red Rain. Red Rain is probably my go-to on this, among all the hits, but Daniel Lund came out in '86, of course. Same year that, Invisible Touch came out, So I don't have Security. I still need to get Security or the Plays Live. I have some of those on CD, though, So then I've got a copy of Us. I don't know if this was reissued or, in the 90s this came out, which has the song, the one Peter Gabriel song my wife really likes, Digging in the Dirt. It's got some others. Was it Steam, Washing of the Water, and Secret World. But it came out in '92, I believe. And this is, I think, the first album that was released on his Secret World label. So it's kind of interesting. It's got the Secret World song, and, I don't know, when I do a review of the Peter Gabriel concert, maybe I should do a Peter Gabriel featured video. And so then I have what I consider my favorite of the Peter Gabriel. It's kind of my era in the sense that I finally was a fan of his, and a new album came out, Up, from 2002, featuring Darkness, Growing Up. I Grieve is another one's kind of a darker, kind of sad piece. And of course the Barry Williams Show. I like the melody. It's kind of a silly song. Of course, Barry Williams from the Brady Bunch. Like Peter Gabriel. I can't remember what I read somewhere where he didn't know who Barry Williams was, and that's until he heard that name. He came with the name, or Barry Williams found out about the song and the video. It's like about a talk show host. I don't know if Barry Williams had done a talk show or he'd been a guest on a talk show or been a guest host maybe. Kind of like a Jerry Springer type. It's almost like a somewhat of a tabloidish. You know how truth is sort of staged, scripted, rehearsed. The actual background of the plot or the background of the people that show up on the talk show, the daytime talk show, aren't really all that real. It's more of a for theatrics and for to get ratings and stuff. And that's what the Barry Williams show is supposed to be, kind of parodying a little bit. But anyway, so that's Peter Gabriel. Yeah, I'm really looking forward. That video he did from Panopticon was just great a few days ago, last week. Very surreal. So, but moving on to the G's. Again, this is probably just going to be part one of the G's. But I have one album from local sort of progressive art, new grass, jazz fusion, bluegrass band, Galactic Cowboy Orchestra, or the Galactic Cowboy Orchestra. Yeah, they have the word "the" in their name. The Galactic Cowboy Orchestra. This is Zombie Mouth from, it was like 2014 maybe. I forget which year. But they're great. This is not my favorite the Galactic Cowboy Orchestra album. They have a bunch of albums. This title track's on here. John Wright of Lato and Wright, his wife Lisi, Dan Neal. Actually, Greg Harrigas wrote one of the songs on here, Floating. But yeah, if you like jazz fusion and sort of modern variety, these guys, they cover 21st Century Schizo Man on one of their albums, and their first album is probably my favorite. I'll be showing probably that in the albums of the year at some point on CD. So, but this is Zombie Mouth from the Galactic Cowboy Orchestra. So with a very similar name that predate the Galactic Cowboy Orchestra, there's the band Galactic Cowboys, of course, the band that King's X was toured with. King's X from, were based in Katy, Texas. I think it was Katy, Texas, for many years. Beatles meets Metallica, or Metallica meets Beatles with a grunge element. But I have 3 of their records. I have the self-titled, which was issued on vinyl. Great record. It's got I'm Not Amused, Sea of Tranquility, Pump Up the Space Boot, Ranch on Mars, Reprise, Speak to Me, My School. It's a terrific debut album. Came out in 1991, I believe it was. Same year, as Nevermind, and the labels were signing them, the label Geffen or whatever, they signed them and Nirvana at the same time, but they didn't promote them like Nirvana. So then I recently just picked up, I showed in a video, their album from 1996, Machine Fish, which I like, but it's the first album that without original guitarist Dane Sonnier, replaced by Wally Farkas. It's a little different, a little heavier at times, and then their comeback albums, they kind of broke up in effect in the year 2000 or 2001, but they came back in 2017 and released another album called Long Way Back to the Moon. But I like the year it came out. Zombies, speaking of Zombie, one of the songs on this, kind of funny how Galactic Cowboy have a song called Zombies. The title track, Believe the Hype, In the Clouds. It's classic. This has Dane Sonnier back with the band, the detuned guitars and, kind of crazy harmonies and just the riffs and the lead bass lines and stuff. So if you like King's X and you've never heard Galactic Cowboys, you definitely need to, or you're a Beatles and a Metallica fan. So, alright, I'm moving on to the G's. This is the big, massive collection I've picked up from. This is one of the bands I have, not the most, but close to the most, because of all the extra stuff I have. This is Genesis, of course. So I have the reissued version of the debut record from Genesis to Revelation from, where it was 68 or 69. Came out in 2014. It came out Record Store Day. I've listened to it maybe all of 2 or 3 times total. It's got the From Sour Turns to Sweet and a few others, but... So then I've got 2 copies, and again, I'm still questioning a little bit why I need 2 copies, but they're different. The labels are different a little bit on them. The issues, one's something ABC Records, and one's a CHC stereo. I don't know. From Trespass, the second album, the last album with Anthony Phillips, original guitarist. Of course, John Mayhew played the drums, but Stagnation, among others, on this album. White Mountains, a fantastic record. I love this, even though it doesn't have Phil and Steve Hackett. So, I have a painting of it, actually. I should bring up and put on the background. I might be doing that soon downstairs. Anyway, so then I've got one copy of Nursery Crime, of course, musical box, classic, like, trademark artwork. Fountain of Some Matches, that's how I always say it, among others. Return of the Giant Hogweed. It's a terrific record. It lives up to its, like, praise. People talk about it, reference it frequently. Of course, the first album with Steve Hackett and Phil Collins, you know, on drums and guitar respectively. So then I've got, okay, this would come after that, actually. I was not correct on the order here, so, alright. So I'll put that there. I'm trying to do this in the correct order. So then I've got, of course, Foxtrot. Only got one copy, and this, I don't know, I kind of come back and forth. I mean, it's got Supper's Ready, it's got Canyon Tilling Coastliners, it's got Get 'Em Off My Friday. This, at one point, was definitively my favorite Genesis album. I still love it. I love many sections on Supper's Ready. It's got, you know, of course, Watcher of the Skies, that little, like, Morse code intro kind of thing. And Harold the Barrel, I believe, is also on this. Is it not? Harold the Barrel's, I think, on Nursery Crime. I always get those two mixed up. But anyway, that came out in '72. And so then I have Genesis Live, which it was really like an EP length. It has Get On By Friday, Watch of the Skies, Musical Box, and The Knife. I forgot to mention The Knife that's on Trespass. But kind of a classic live album, even though it's only like 30-some-odd minutes long, but from April of '73. So then I also have this. They're just, you find this stuff regularly. This combination Nursery Crime Foxtrot. I don't know. I bought this just because I thought it was kind of rare, but it's really not that rare. It's just two albums in one gatefold, different artwork, of course. And then another thing, this Rock Theater, Reflection Genesis rock, including, you know, Rock Theater. Actually, this would have come out based on what it's saying. I think Harold the Barrel's off of Selling England. Let's see. Got my copy of Selling England. No, it's anyway. Because this has I Know What I Like. So this obviously was released after. Here's my copy of Selling England. Not the best copy, like a thick pressing. Selling England is my go-to now #1 Genesis album. Cinema Show, my favorite Genesis song. Dance with the Moon at Night. Battle of Epping Forest really works, as odd as it is. I like I Know What I Like. Dance, you know. But I have this because this has I Know What I Like. So unless they were playing that before this was released, because I know they released like 2 albums in 1 year. I think it was Foxtrot and Selling England, or maybe it was Foxtrot and Nursery Crime. I forget. I don't remember the dates. But anyways, this thing is, I don't know if it's super rare, but it's a live capturing. It's a German pressing, so I'll put those in the correct order. I'm not sure. Anyway, so here's my one copy of The Lamb, which is not in the best. It's like faded. I need to get a better copy, I admit. I bought this at a record show years ago. I got a discount on it. It's only $12. Because the case is a little faded. But, you know, Lamb's a classic double album concept album. The last album with Peter Gabriel, of course. I like a lot of it. It syncs up with Dark City. It's not mentioned enough. Dark City, the movie from 1998 with Rupert, whatever his name is. Sewell. I forget. It syncs up, and they're about exactly the same length, like 100 minutes. So, but yeah, I mean, of course, Kevin Gilbert covered it, and that kind of changed my thoughts about this album in some ways. But it's a terrific record with plenty of really good music, including just going over some of my favorite tracks. Back in New York City, the Lamia, the title track, Lily White Lilith. The Supernatural Anesthetist, I love that guitar solo from Steve Hackett. That's just dreamy. I get like a happy feeling whenever I hear that. The closing track, I don't know. I mean, it's filled with a lot of great tracks, but at the same time, it kind of goes on for a little longer than I like, and that's why it's not like the definitive Genesis album to me as it is to many others. And it's 100 minutes, so it requires a lot of time to take in at once. But they pull the concept off pretty well. The whole Pilgrim's Progress concept, or just about Rael and his looking for his brother, but his brother's really not there. He's really looking for himself. Some of the ways that kept, the Slipper, calling it the Slipper Man,
Kevin brought to life some of those songs that I didn't always get the best impression from Gabriel. In the Cage has a great keyboard solo. There's a lot that can be said about The Lamplights on Broadway. And there's a lot has already been said that I'm not just repeating basically. So all right, moving on to the first Phil Collins period in effect. I have a copy of Trick of the Tail, of course, from '75. They released 2 albums that year. I like A Trick of the Tail a lot, even though I don't like it as much as any of the sort of 4 classic Gabriel records. But Dance on Volcano, Squonk, Entangled, Los Endos, Robbery, Assault, and Battery, And then I have, of course, a copy of Wind and Weather, which came out later that year, which 11th Earl was great. Afterglow. It has just some dreamy moments, a little softer. I always find like Mew and a lot of bands take a lot of inspiration from this record. Synth pop, synth rock, kind of dream, almost post rock. Blood on the Rooftops. It's all in a mouse's night. I don't know. There's a lot of tracks on here that I enjoy, but I don't remember that well. But yeah, at least that one still has Hackett. So then, of course, I've got a copy of Seconds Out, which features Bill Bruford on some of the songs, and Chester Thompson playing drums. They do a really good version of Supper's Ready on here, and Cinema Show. The track list is great. It's superior to Genesis Live, but because Genesis Live has Gabriel, I still tend to prefer it over Seconds Out. But in fact, I have another copy of that downstairs because it was used at my wedding as one of the centerpieces for one of the tables. We use vinyl records as the centerpieces for our tables, and we just found when we had to deface, and it was Seconds Out. So then I have of course, the EP, the last thing Steve Hackett did with them, Spot the Pigeon, which, I don't even remember the songs that well. They're all right. They remind me of the stuff from Wind and Wuthering more than anything else, but I know that because the last thing Hackett did, Hackett couldn't get a lot of his ideas on the records. That was when he left Genesis. Of course, he had done his first solo album, which I'll be showing probably in the next video, while he was still in Genesis. It had Phil Collins and I think Tony Banks also played on it. Maybe almost all of Genesis played on it. But anyway, so then here's my copy of it. Then there were 3. Has Follow You, Follow Me, I believe. Yeah. Mike Rutherford takes the lead on the guitar duties because Steve Hackett leaves. Many Too Many. Yeah, and Undertow. Undertow is the other real big highlight on this album. Yeah, Follow You, Follow Me was kind of a pop hit, even though it's like 6 minutes, but it's a great track, I like this album, but it's a little bit like Wind and Wuthering, where it's not, from beginning to end, it's not as memorable as some of the other records, but it's still 70s Genesis. But anyway, so then I have a few bootlegs of sorts. I got these when I was in Cleveland many years ago, in 2015, at one of the record stores there. Revelatory Genesis from 80 to 78, and it's from, I don't know when the 87. So 2 different shows. It's 2 different shows, and it has some of the stuff from Wind and Wuthering, especially. Actually, this is a little early. I should be showing this. And this one right here I have is called Live at the Royal Theatre, May 4th, 1980. And this has a lot of the Duke stuff, so I'm not quite into the Duke stuff, but these are kind of around the Duke era. The second disc, side 3 and 4, has more of the classic. Fountain of Sun Matches the Night. That's why I bought this. And it has the Duke suite, so, but yeah, you can see it, Revelatory Genesis. It had Daryl Sturmer, of course, was their live guitarist that played with Mike Rutherford at this point, because Steve Hackett had left. And this one, the Live at the Theatre Royale, May 4th, 1980, my wife's birthday. Selling England by the Pound. This is interesting. They have Carpet Crawlers. Selling England, that's not a song. They play the whole thing. I can't remember where they wrote that in here, but In the Cage, Follow Me, and Afterglow. So then I've got 2 copies, I believe. Do I have 2 copies? I think I have 2 copies. One's a promo of Duke, which actually they're both promos. So I don't know if there's any extra value with these 2, but one's Atlantic and one's CBR, whatever that refers to. So I'll have to look these up, of course, on Discogs, but I think, no, this is the only one that's a promo. I was just looking at promotional sales, looking at the back of this. Anyway, Duke is my favorite Phil Collins era Genesis album, I think, because the drum work is fantastic on this. The Duke suite, even though it's split up. It also has, of course, some of the hits they had, Turn It On Again and Misunderstanding. Man Over Times is also a minor hit, but I don't find there's really too many songs I don't like, and it's more memorable. I think the production's better. Even the artwork has its charm to it. So, but I paid $1 for this. I gotta look at the condition. I mean, I didn't buy. I usually look at the condition before I buy these, but for $1, that was a steal for a promo. Anyway, from 1980, came out early '80, and then I have a copy of Abacab, which by a lot of people's takes is maybe other than maybe the debut album, the worst Genesis album. And I don't know if I really agree with that, but I remember being bored by this record. It's got no reply at all, of course, and Keep It Dark. Those two were, people hate that song. Was it Dodo Lurkert or Who Done It? One of those two. I don't know. I mean, they weren't sure what they were trying to do. They're trying to do pop music. They're still trying to do the musicianship of the prog what they'd done with Duke and everything. This came out the year after? 81, yeah. I don't have my wife though. If I'm doing albums of the year, I may have the opportunity to show because she has both the Mama self-titled album and Invisible Touch. She does not have, and I think it might be on vinyl. We Can't Dance, and Calling All Stations I have on CD, although I don't know if I found the jewel case yet. But that's kind of the rundown of my Genesis collection. So that's the rundown of the first half of the G's. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we'll see you next time.